This video is part of the IOD Summer Collection 2023 release. If you want to see other videos from this playlist, please click the link in the description below. So I found this awesome table that I decided would be perfect for the new paint inlay, but it needed a little work. Did you see that top? It is all uneven. So I grabbed my Surf Prep sander and distressed the top. Then I decided to go with this neutral color, tested out the wet distressing to see what it looked like with that deep brown coming through, and I love it. So I'm ready to get started. Hi, okay, so I'm here to talk to you about one of the new paint inlays. They are amazing. The sisters always know how to do it. This is one of them, this one that I'm going to be working on today. I'm really not sure how to pronounce this. It's so new, and I'm the worst at trying to pronounce all of the IOD names for items, so I'll just let you read that. But this one is a fabulous paint inlay for you to get started. You know why? It only has 4 pages, and they're so little. They're like bite-sized pieces. Really good bite-sized pieces, kind of like melange paint inlays, because they're just smaller pieces and easier to work with. But look, so there's 4 pages with lots of details. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some paint inlay on the table. I've already got a base coat down, but I've decided to change the color, which is no big deal. So I'm just going to put a different color and then lay my paint inlay on, and I'm hoping that I've chosen the right color. So follow along and see how this turns out. Okay, so I have chosen to use colored greens. I feel that the color of the paint inlay will look better and pop better off of this colored green. So I'm cutting them out. I'm playing with laying it around how I want to put these on. A little bit here, a little bit there, but in the end, I decide that I think it looks better with the 2 of the bigger parts of the flowers side by side on the top. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the bottom trim and put it along each side of the bottom of the table. Now, a very important part is if I'm going to match these up, you can see that there's a space there. So I need to cut that so I make sure when I lay it down that it will touch and there will not be any separation. Okay, so now I'm putting on my second coat of the paint. This is where I'm going to stick my paint inlay into this wet paint. So I need to make sure that I'm giving it a nice even coat for me to put the inlay on. If you like these videos, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell to be notified when I release a new video. So a trick to getting the inlay to lay flat with less wrinkles is to spray the front of the paint inlay just with a little bit of water. And then when you go to apply it, it just seems to lay down flatter without as many wrinkles. So that's what I went ahead and did here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to lightly push with my fingers and put that inlay into the paint. I'm going to repeat this same process with the other paint inlay for the other side here. Give it a quick spritz, lay it down, and firmly press it into the paint. You can also use a brayer, your choice. This was such a small inlay that I figured that I would just use my fingers. Next, you're going to mist with some water and then take a rag or a wet damp cloth and just kind of push it in the entire paint inlay. Just make sure you're pushing on the design. So while I am waiting for the paint inlay to dry, I decide that I'm going to do a little blending along the whole entire outside of the table. So I just grab a light cream and I grab my blending brushes, my mister bottle, and I just blend away. And it's just added like a little highlight, a little bit of dimension. You don't have to do this, but it adds a little bit to your piece. So after I get the top blended, I decide it's time to put the details of the paint inlays on the side of the table. So I go ahead and give it its second coat of paint. I try to make sure that I put an even coat on, mist the part of the paint inlay that I'm going to put on, lay it down, firmly pressing the paint inlay into the wet paint so it will steal the paint off of that paper. And I'm going to do it to all of the sides of the table or where I've decided to put the paint inlay. Then I'm going to mist it, and I'm going to take my little damp cloth and just rub it in, making sure I have no wrinkles and pushing it into the paint. Now, while the rest of these paint inlays are drying, I decided I'm going to have a little fun. So I get a little water take my brush, stick it in the color greens, the green paint, and I make a really runny, drippy wash. And I just decided that this is just gonna be fun. It's gonna add some dimension, just a cool look to the table. So I put it on, and then I take my mister bottle and I'm just spritzing it with water. I'm getting drips, and each leg will come out different. It's just because the stark white to me is just too boring. So I figure, let's have some fun and throw some of this green on. I always end up making a tremendous mess. But what's nice is I always just paint over my floor with a different color. You can see on the floor right now to the right, I've got a stencil, and then on the back, I've got this cream color. So it's okay. So here's an up close look. I spritzed it first, went into my green wash, drippy mess, and just put it on the top. Let it run down the leg, and I'm going to spritz it a little bit more, and then I'm going to go with a rag and just kind of pat it, and it just gives a really creative look, and I just love it. All right, time to remove the paint inlay. So what I did was I grabbed my mister, spritzed over the entire part of the paint inlay. I let it sit for a little, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, patted it dry, just getting the excess water off, and then it was time for the reveal. Now, every paint inlay goes on differently, so I was excited to see how it came out. So you can see that there is some parts that stuck and some that came off and stayed on the paint inlay paper, which is fine because you can use this inlay, 3 times. Each time will, of course, be a little bit less, but I love the way it came out. Let me remove the rest of these and look at that. There's a little bit distressing, but this table was meant to look old. I gave it some wet distressing already. I get drippy legs. Just even the style of the table, it's an older table. So it's coming out perfect. Look at that. I love it. Now you can see the square there, but that's purely because that paint around where I sprayed was still wet. Now I'm going to do a little bit more wet distressing because wet distressing to me looks a little bit more authentic. So what do you think? Look at how cool that is. Next up, I'm going to seal it. So I'm using a solvent-based sealer, and I grabbed gloss. I wish I would have grabbed matte. I like the matte better, but too late. So with the solvent base, you can paint it right on the paint inlay. You don't have to worry about it smearing, smudging, whatever. So this is my choice of sealing. There are other ways to do it, but my choice is to seal it with a solvent-based sealer. I really like the way this table turned out. You're absolutely gonna love the new paint inlays, so get your hands on them before they're all gone. Thanks for watching.